as we move forward. That's for yet another day. Paul and Craig Smoak to my left and right. Squirrel Williams, 4 quarterbacks, new names on defense making plays, young, skilled people at the wide receiver position, the tight ends with Sims and Dabney, the offensive line, of course, with everybody all but back except Xavier Newman-Johnson. What stood out to you, in your opinion, the storylines, and we'll get into some of them and also hear from Dave Aranda?
I would say that, to me, the biggest thing that stands out is this team is going to be defined by its offensive and defensive line play, it was pretty good. And I think that's how you win conference championships. That's how you get in the playoff eventually. That's how teams in the playoff win, is that up front they dominate. And it looks like they have the depth and ability to do that. Granted, it's the spring game, so what do you glean from it? I mean, I think it's cool that Squirrel Williams played. I think it's cool that Gavin Holmes played. I think that everybody contributed in their own way. But again, let's get to the regular season and see those guys able to contribute, hopefully, because that'd be great news for Baylor if they do. But there's still not a lot of experience at cornerback and wide receiver, and they'll do that. But I do think that they have enough athleticism to get by, but they probably need a steady hand of experience at both those positions going forward.
I don't think the quarterback battle really had a surefire winner at the end. I don't think Gary Bohannon looked very good for a guy who all spring long was supposed to be, pretty in command of the starting quarterback position. I thought he looked about like he looked last year, quite frankly, and in particular had a awful throw when they were in the red zone that got picked and ran back for, like a 90-whatever pick 6 from Bryson Jackson. That was just one of those throws that he made last year that, or decisions or what have you that, at times cost them. And it just kind of was like, that felt like 2021. Blake Shapen looked good, I guess. I don't know. I didn't really feel like there was a quarterback that was just like, wow, he looks like the starter. But I also didn't think that Gary Bohannon clearly looked like the guy either. Tay McWilliams, it was good to see him run around a little bit, and Craig Williams as well. He looks healthy, and, you just hope that he stays that way. I mean, that's the thing with him and Gavin Holmes. It's like, let's get excited in March about it, in April about it. But, until we see those guys actually get through a season, then, it's kind of all just hope. So I hope that those two guys are able to continue on the path they're on right now. But I also know their history, and I, wait with bated breath and just hope that they can make it through the entire season and actually show for once what they're able to do fully. So it was good to see those guys. I guess, the lines, they looked good. It's a lot of youth, really, is what stood out. And then the young wide receivers, they are a group that does not have really any experience to speak of, basically. And, Dave Aranda even said it, Gavin Holmes is like the leader in the room. And there's guys that are younger than him that have played more than he has. Like, that's how inexperienced they are. So it was good to see those guys making some catches, the Josh Camerons and those types, the rest of the league, and see, veteran receivers. And for Baylor, it's literally nothing. Like, there's literally no experience at these positions practically. Monterey Baldwin, what can we say about him? We think he's going to be really good. What did we see from him last year? Like, 1 touchdown in the Sugar Bowl is basically what we saw, and a couple of other plays. But outside of that, we really didn't see him. Like, look at his stats. We didn't see him do a ton. So unless you were sitting there watching him block on an every play basis, then you didn't really glean too much. So I'm a little bit nervous still about the inexperience of the wide receivers, but those are just a few things.
One of the things, though, is that when you had the receivers with Tyquan Thornton and R.J. Sneed, who, of course, is now at Colorado, and there were deep based on at least what we
NFL draft this week, those I guess the holes that they left behind. The players they talked about, guys being really eager to step into that new role. So what's that like, just, seeing your former players leave that mark and just seeing so much hunger from the younger guys and other players wanting to step in?
No, I appreciate that. I think last year's group, the issue was really belief with a lot of those guys. I thought they had success before, and it was a whole other way of doing it. I think, the whole different personality and whole different kind of, they're thinking like this is like chicken soup for the soul, and they're going like, what's going on? You're not going to win with this stuff, And so I think like to kind of get past that was the challenge, and to get the leadership to get past that and see that, or rather see it, that you can win like that was the issue. And I think this year, I think there's a belief in everything, but I think it's just human nature when you're playing, but you're not looked at as the guy, and the guy's in front of you, and there's the light is on him, and so there's now a shadow on you. So maybe you're less seen, and we're winning, and you're having success, and you're having the all of this, but you're not kind of the face of it, and you don't have the accountability of it. I mean, that's pretty good, it can be. And so now to kind of get out of the shadow and get into the light where everything is you're accountable, I think that's human nature. I think that's just hard to do. And so I think, we'll have guys that say it and nod their head and want to be that guy, but to be that guy, that's still in progress for sure.
He always can make things sound so much different than perhaps what the answers are. I agree with him that, you may want to play more. You may want more snaps. You may want to be somebody else. You may wish you were that person. And then all of a sudden it's time and the spotlight is on you and it's a little bit different. Some guys accept it, relish in it, cherish it. And then some, of course, they can kind of buckle under, well, wait a minute. Now everybody's looking at me on every play as a corner, a wide receiver, or somewhere else as well. Squirrel Williams and Gavin Holmes, who Craig mentioned, by the way, the stories with those guys, they've been hurt throughout their careers. Gavin Holmes is, just had unbelievable bad luck. But bottom line is, the best availability, the best ability is availability, and they haven't been that way to the point where you kind of get almost worn out with, is Squirrel going to play this week, or is Gavin Holmes back, or whatever. I did tweet or text Matt Holmes, Gavin's dad. I said it was so nice to see Gavin in the post-spring media session, and he goes, you have no idea the story. Of course we do. We do have, not through the family's part of it, but it's great to see those two men. But yeah, can they get to the season and then also then produce once they get to that point? But there's no question, Dave Aranda even said Squirrel Williams is an electric player, on maybe the most electric player he has on offense. Now, there was one of the notes.
He said he is the most electric guy on offense. That's what he said. Yeah.
Okay.
So,
I think that's what I was saying, wasn't it?
No, I'm just confirming that's what he said. He said he's the most electric guy on offense and one of the most electric guys on the team. And so, that's high praise. And again, it's all great, but I need to see him out there. I need to see him actually in a game. I need to see him go through an entire game and be back the next week, and then go through that game and be back the next week. Because the last time we saw him, we saw him briefly, a little, play here and there last year, just very sparingly. But the last time before that, we saw him running wild against Iowa State. Hadn't seen him at all. Here he comes, Iowa State. Doesn't even finish the game. So it's like, again, you get excited, but you just kind of hold your breath a little bit. But there was high praise for him.
A team that ended up 2-7 had Iowa State, who was very highly ranked, on the ropes, in trouble. He was one of the reasons for that. And then again, as Craig mentioned, he could not finish the game. He also